Hello, everyone. Welcome to VRV podcast, episode 128. I'm PG. I'm here chatting with Miru
Manex.
Studios. Manex. I didn't want to mispronounce it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Talking about his game Finger Gun on the Oculus, on the MetaQuest. I keep saying Oculus, but we're getting there. So how's it going?
Good. I mean, it's been a couple of hectic months, since we launched in UpLab, but so far so good. Really happy with all the things, with how the things are going so far.
Yeah, you're kind enough to share some assets. I gotta be honest, I kind of want to do the whole episode from the mine cart over here, but that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, right. You can maybe actually be behind the cacti as well.
Yeah. So yeah, your game has been out a couple months, and it's 100% finger tracking. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you have the option for controllers at all, right?
No, not
okay.
We don't.
So I'm just really curious, like, because that's VR in itself. Being a developer for VR takes a lot of guts, and then to go with an experimental setup like finger tracking. I mean, you guys, I don't. How did you decide that, and how is that going for you?
This is actually really interesting because when we started, my friend and my business partner Eneko and I, we both fell in love with VR back in 2019. We discovered the technology, the space, while we were doing our final thesis of our degrees, and we fell in love with the space, and we saw that the space was full of opportunities. You of course had like Monets and Da Vinci's, where people were doing great stuff in this space. And we decided that we wanted to do something entertaining. We decided that we wanted to get into game development, but we needed something that would differentiate us from the others. And that was hand tracking technology. Back in 2020, 2019, it was not that big of a deal, but we tried it, and we were like, this will be the interaction of the future. So we need to do something now. And that's when we actually started. This is our niche. So we've been developing Finger Gun for a couple of years now, and yeah, I mean, it's not been easy, definitely. It's still a technology that's being developed, and that does bring a lot of issues to the studio and to the development processes. But it's an amazing thing. It's a really challenging thing to develop for VR and to develop for hand tracking technology, and we love challenges. So here we are.
All right, everyone watching, we're back. Sorry about that. Not sure what happened, but here we are. I think we left off talking about the hand tracking, and I think my next question was, again, it's an experimental feature, highly experimental right now. You guys are part of the first group of developers playing with it. So a question I had was, as Oculus runs updates and all that, like, do they ever kind of ruin your week by updating something and all hell breaks loose on your guys' build, and then you have to kind of scramble and fix it? Or
I mean, that has happened a couple of times. I'm not gonna lie, but usually, we think that the hand tracking technology is here to stay. We think that hand tracking technology is something that hopefully more and more headsets will embrace, and that means that they have to be really careful with all the updates that they release. So I mean, honestly, in the last months, we haven't had any issues regarding having to rebuild all the systems, all the hand tracking systems, just because of an update. But we have had those issues in the past, and sometimes we will wait for a couple of updates to see what's changed and if it's really worth updating. But yeah.
So far, has the reception been good? What's kind of like the player feedback you've been getting?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. We are really happy with the feedback so far. We've been nominated for Game of the Year at the VR Awards this year.
Awesome.
So we are really really excited for that. I mean, at the end, we are still a really small company. We have a team of 11 people right now, and VR is a small world. Hand tracking is an even smaller niche. Being one of the first hand tracking games out there is kind of scary sometimes. Because it's scary, but we couldn't be prouder of all the work that our team has put towards making this game possible, and are really really excited to see ourselves competing face to face to games like Resident Evil or Star Wars. Those games are games that we've played when we were children, and now having a piece of art competing against other pieces of art, that's the best feeling ever, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I was I didn't really see much of Finger Gun before I kind of jumped in, so I didn't really know what to expect, but I was kind of surprised, and not in a bad way. Like, so the enemies are kind of up flying around shooting at you, and you have to dodge bullets, let alone shoot your fingers and all that. I've kind of noticed that in VR, like that used to be way more of a thing. A lot of games have gotten away from the actual like dodging, ducking, moving. So I know you said you guys have been working on this a couple of years. Have you kind of noticed that same trend, or were you like that's kind of where you started and kind of stuck with it, or?
Kinda. I mean, the core idea of finger gun is still shooting through your fingers, so everything is built around that. The dynamic of the game, and the game being a wave shooter, is built on top of the experience of shooting, and we have put a lot of effort and focus on getting a good experience for the player to shoot. So I think that the wave shooter trend has gone down in the last years, definitely, and probably developers have been trying to avoid it or trying to run away from it, maybe even just because there are so many great games, so many great wave shooters out there. But we felt that for our game, it was a really really good concept for the finger shooting, because we didn't want the game to be a traditional FPS where the goal of the game is to be accurate and try to accurately shot at someone. The game is more about what you decide to shoot and when you decide to shoot that thing, and that's why a wave shooter felt a really good fit for that concept. Because one of the problems with hand tracking technology is that we are not able to get a really good aiming experience or a really good traditional shooting experience for that matter. It's more of a chaotic childish, not childish, but child-friendly way of playing. One of our goals with hand tracking or with this game is to bring those childhood memories back. And we thought that focusing our efforts on building a game where you had to decide what's the order that you will shoot the enemies and when you will execute each shot was a more interesting approach than accuracy, and that's why a wave shooter was a better fit for this.
Yeah, and I like wave shooters. I have fun with it. It was more surprising to me, like I didn't even think about it, and the first time the enemies popped up, they started shooting at me. I'm like, oh, like it didn't register right away. Like, I have to move because it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I really love that about VR. Like, there's a lot of great games just pop in. You can almost get a workout out of it and just be a little more active than just sitting and like,
Definitely.
doing something. So
Yeah,
it just kind of took
definitely.
me off guard, and I was like, sweet, I love this because, you know, like I said, I like to have a little movement and stuff, because otherwise there's a lot of VR games where you're just stand there and your legs get tired and sore because you're just standing there. Like every VR game needs to make you move and duck, and you know. So I was really happily surprised.
That's awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Welcome aboard, Wookie.
Hey, technical problems.
Had a little bout of that.
So reboot Windows.
We're back.
I'm Wookie. Haven't met you, but here I am, looking at old West stuff.
Great job here, by the way.
I agree with the ducking and moving.
Great job you've done decorating everything.
Oh, decorating, just slapping some stuff in so they can, the viewers can see it all. Wanted to fit more in, but then it would have been.
Before we move on, I just want to point out, like, these assets are so detailed. Like, I'm getting right up into this enemy here, and in his eye hole, like it's like clear.
Yeah.
Like you don't see that normally. Like if you watch the video, these guys are like 30, 40 feet away. You'll never see them this close. So the detail here is insane. I'm going to zoom the camera in on that too, just so everyone can see it.
Yeah. The eye is actually a little bit.
And I agree with PJ on the.
The eye is actually a little bit. Something's off with the texture. But I think that's our fault.
I'm not sure. I still get a little frustrated with Unity sometimes because you import an FBX that has the textures. Everything else sees the textures, and Unity, you're like, oh, I have to extract the material and rebuild it. I hope.
Yeah, that's probably our fault, though.
It's like, come on, Unity, even. It's okay, but you double click an FBX, and now Windows has a 3D model viewer that can.
It sees it.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh-oh. So he'll come back. Moving on.
Yep.
So just talking about the enemies, like, I always find the design process interesting. Like, was like this what was in your head, or did you have like an artist come in and you kind of just said, hey, we need enemies, and they created them, or how did they come about?
So this is the creation of our lead designer and art director. This enemy specifically is the Rambot. I believe this was the third enemy that was designed in Fingergun, and the process was the designer thought that we needed a tankier enemy that would resist some of the shots, and he did some drafts of how the enemy should behave and how the enemy should exist, and then the art director did the magic of making that a reality. And it's actually really interesting because in the design process of this enemy, the art director thought about the front of an old Western train. So all the enemies, all in Fingergun has that steampunk feeling. Kind of the Doc Holliday is a really crazy Doc that has built all these enemies and all this technology. But we try to give everything that Western feeling, so that it could everything fit together. And this specifically was designed thinking about the front line of a train. You can see this should be like the downside of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like a train mixed with almost like the crow's nest of like a pirate ship. And it's really neat.
Yeah, right.
And then you come around the back and it's got mufflers on it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
And then in the game, when they're coming at you, like they'll come at you this way and shoot, and they kind of then tip up, and you have a chance to shoot them. And one of the mechanics I liked about your game, you're talking about choosing what to shoot when. You'll kind of shoot a couple enemies, and they'll drop ammo, which is pickups for like other guns. Like your hand will then turn into a Gatling gun, which is really neat, by the way. So you're shooting all there's like 20 guys up in the air, and you're shooting them, and you're trying to grab which gun ammo you like if a couple drop, and then you got to get it, loaded into your gauntlet or glove, all while they're all shooting at you. It's just, there's a lot going on, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. If something is, if I could say something about the game that would describe it, that would be that there is a lot going on in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it's a wave shooter. So, enemies pop up, you take them out, the little up, I don't remember the exact name for it, but the little upgrade cart comes up. It's a cool system. You pick different cards, you put it in the machine, put your hands on it, then you get that upgrade. So how'd you guys decide on that as an upgrade feature for, switching weapons and upping your character?
So as I've said before, the game is built on top of the shooting experience. So once we developed that system, and once we were sure that the system worked, we realized that we needed to begin building the game around the experience. One of the first things we did was designing the hook, but we'll talk about that later, so I will not bring now. But one of the last things we actually did was designing the upgrade system, because we wanted to give a little bit of depth to the game. And we figured that getting some upgrades so that the player can decide how they want to play the game, and they can have a slightly different experience every time they play, was a really smart way of overcoming the issue of the game getting repetitive. And that's when we thought about getting a machine every time you finished a round, getting those cards, giving everything the same Western vibe, the slot machine, getting the cards, mixing that with the things that you have already done through the tutorial. And that's how we actually came up with the idea.
That's awesome. Yeah, speaking of the grappling hook, you kind of have a neat mechanic where you push your hand out and the grappling hook will pop out, you grab it, and then pull yourself to the next spot. With that mechanic, is that just a basic movement from area to area, or is there more interaction with that, like grabbing ammo out of the air type of thing that you have built in there?
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot more to the grappling hook. So the grappling hook came actually after the shooting system was designed and implemented and decided that it worked good enough, and the upgrade system. So once we developed the shooting, we had the need of having something to move around. And that's why we designed the grappling hook at the beginning. So basically it's a hook that it will appear in your hand once you pose your hand like a hook, and you have to throw it. And then once the hook is hooked, you have to pull yourself so that you can get somewhere. But then we actually thought that the system could be used to grab things that you can't reach with your hands, that are too far away. And that's when we started to think about the modules and how those things combined could also give a little bit of depth to the game. And right now we are thinking about things to do with the grappling hook in the future in Fingergun, and because we feel that is something that people really love, the system, and we think that it does have a lot of potential besides the things that we have already done.
Yeah, it was, again, going back to finger tracking or hand tracking, like it's a very genius way to move around, because obviously if you don't have controllers in your hand, it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? So every finger or hand tracking game does it quite differently, and I think this is a really cool idea. I know Wookie and I, just from past games in our childhoods with grappling hooks, like I love grappling hooks. I was really happy to see that. So like, oh, this is cool. So I'm glad to hear you're still kind of thinking of what to do with it and things to add. So
yeah, definitely. It was actually going to be a lasso.
Oh, nice.
we thought about doing something with your hand like this and trying to throw and then pull back, but this was going to be way too difficult, or maybe actually impossible with the technology nowadays to implement.
Yeah.
So plus, we ended up.
Yeah, when you have 20 enemies shooting at you, it's a bit probably chaotic to be, hold on, let me do this.
Yeah.
And if you go out of range of the cameras, I know sometimes your request will be like, I don't know where your hand is, and you're done.
Yeah, you'll have to do it, in front of you. And that was not, part of the cool experience of doing it like this,
But that would be something to like I play VR outside quite a bit, and my neighbors just think, they're like, what the hell is that guy doing? So if I'm out there like, woo, like,
yeah, you got to say yeehaw and stuff.
Yeah, I'd have to.
Right.
I'd have to dress up like in your video here, like. I don't know if I'd look more obscure or less by dressing the part and doing it, but. So is that in your video? Speaking of that, is that someone from your team? Is that you in there, or just an actor?
That's actually Eneko, my business partner. He's the CEO of the company and an actor as well, apparently. Yeah. So I mean, Sorry, what?
I was just gonna say, I bet that was a lot of fun to shoot.
Yeah, it was it was amazing. It was really, really fun. Thing is, we didn't have too much budget for the trailer, so we tried to do it. Bootstrapping is something we've been doing for a couple of years now, and the trailer was part of it. Really homemade thing. But
I have to give you guys props though, because like one thing with game trailers and stuff I hate is, and again, we've been in VR a lot. I know it's meant for like people that aren't in VR, so you can kind of quickly describe what you're doing. So I normally I'm like, I just want to see gameplay. I don't want to see the real person thing. But with your game, it really makes sense, because there's no controllers or anything. So like you guys in your video, he'll put his hand up and then it goes right to the game. It's really well done compared to even like Meta's videos, because those kind of annoy me sometimes. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, the lead in from what he's doing in real life to what you see the game doing is well done. It's almost like a little tutorial in itself.
I mean, that was totally the intention. We've truly been afraid about how well we have crafted the tutorial and everything, so that the experience can be as good as we think it is. And with hand tracking technology, there are things that are still to be invented. For example, people are not used to looking at their hands, or people are not used to doing things in a virtual world with their hands. So teaching the players has been a big concern for us. So everything from the trailer on has been about trying to teach the player how to correctly do some of the things that you need to do in the game.
Yeah, that's really smart. So I'm really glad to hear that. I always find it interesting, like, a dev team releases a game, and VR especially is like, you're always adding to it. And it's like in the flat screen world, normally you release a game, it's done. You might come do some content down the road, but like you guys are just constantly adding to things, tweaking things. And it just amazes me like how you can work on a game so long, and especially like smaller companies without as much funding as, bigger companies, how you can really make that work for you guys. That's always intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, again, bootstrapping. I mean, reading about how to, try to get as much as you can out of creativity and out of, these kind of things do really matter, and you can go, far away with a little bit of bootstrapping, a little bit of creativity. And I mean, of course, you need financing, and in our case, we do have investors, and we've had, our revenue from Fingergun as well, and several help from public sector as well in Spain. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to build a strong team that has really big commitment to the game. You really need to think about, what are you giving them, and in what can they give you back, or what can they give Miru back. And when you create this environment where you can actually, feel the need of each individual to get into a position where they can add value and they can receive value back, that's the perfect scenario where things happen, and you can actually, be creative in that scenario, and you can actually, get the most out of everyone, and get to places where you can launch one of the first, FPSs of hand tracking technology and VR.
Yeah,
and keep updating it.
You kind of touched on like how and why you guys went with finger tracking, but before that, just like before you guys even started anything, like how did you decide like, hey, I think VR is where it's at. Let's go try that, because like it's kind of like new territory even today. Like it's still like a lot of new things popping up. Is it just the love of VR from putting the headset on the first time, or is it something else?
Kinda, yeah. So when I first saw a video of a YouTuber trying, the first Oculus that came out, I was amazed by the technology, and I wanted to try the headsets. I mean, then it wasn't going to be wasn't going to happen for 5 years or 6 years. But the first time I actually tried the headsets, I knew that the technology was something either I needed to be familiar with, or I needed to have in my life from a professional point of view. I studied computer science, so and my business partner and friend Eneko, he studied aerospace engineering. So we both were not actually meant to end up developing video games, even though we both of us have had that feeling or that thought of getting into game dev since we were children at some point in our lives.
That's awesome.
When we were in our uni days, we did not think that we were going to end up doing game dev. But when we did our final thesis together, we developed a virtual environment where we simulated the launching and landing of rockets, because we both love rockets as well. And that's when we knew that VR was something we had to figure out how to fit in our lives. VR and an XR, AR, as a matter of fact, as well. So yeah, definitely that is the exact same moment in space where we knew that we were going to end up developing entertainment for VR, because we knew that the biggest thing you can do in VR right now is to entertain, and games are the best way for us to express ourselves through VR.
And it's got to be more fun than the other alternatives, I would imagine. Like,
definitely, yeah.
You get to create a product, you get the player that tests it out, and and then on the other hand, see people enjoy it and bring them joy is probably a great feeling too.
Yeah, definitely. That is one of the perks. Perk is positive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of the perks. I always confuse. Yeah, you do have some bad things about game dev as well that you have to embrace, but yeah.
Too much coffee.
Too much coffee, definitely, yeah.
So I'm going to be honest, I haven't gotten through the entire game, so forgive me if this is in there, but I'm just curious, like future plans are, when I think of Western theme stuff, there's a couple things that pop in my head that I would love to do, like some bank robberies, some train hold up type things. Do you have any plans for those kinds of things, or are you kind of just still working on other background items? Or
maybe, yeah. I mean, right now we are thinking about trying to get the most out of what we have right now in terms of gameplay. We think we can take everything a little bit further. The wave shooter, I mean, but I mean, developing more game modes is something that we think about a lot. And some of the things you have mentioned, like trains and banks, are things that we do have in mind. Definitely.
Not to mention I pointed this out earlier. Yeah. This would be something. Like, you missed it, Wookie, but I wanted to do the entire podcast with all three of us in here, but that was probably kind of high up there. But yeah, like minecart adventures are always fun. That'd be epic in VR.
100%, yeah.
It's a good way to solve the locomotion issues with VR and finger tracking. So,
yeah, I'm excited. Brakes and rail switchers.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see. Like you said, you try to get the most out of what you have and kind of go from there. And then obviously the core game and what's out there is great. It's just I'm always excited to see like when devs add new stuff and how different games kind of change over time and add different features, but even levels or enemies or all that stuff. That's just really exciting. And that's part of VR for me. Like normally a flat game, they'll add content here and there, but VR, like the games are shorter. So you kind of go through it, you'll put it down. If you really like it, you'll play through it a couple times. At least I do anyway. But then, after 6 months or so, they're like, here's a huge update and we're doing all these things. It's really exciting to then hop back into that game and check it all out. Whereas like traditional gaming, it's normally just, areas and maps, which is it's great, but it's not game changing like normally VR things are. So it's always exciting to see that happen.
Yeah, definitely. That is one of the things I love most about VR right now as well, or the gaming community of VR.
And I don't feel bad, but I also, it's like, you're coming here to show your game and we're like, you could do this, that, and this, like, woo. Like, like, yeah, we know we're working on this stuff, but
I mean, the player sometimes knows way more than they think they do in terms of giving feedback. I mean, that is extremely valuable for us. Don't get me wrong on that.
Yeah, there's got to be sometimes when it's like somebody has an idea and you're like, how did I not think of that?
I mean, I think the best example of that is with shooting. We have thought about all the possible ways of shooting with your fingers. I mean, I can't show here, but we have thought about pointing your index finger and your thumb up and trying to shoot like this. We have thought about all the movements you can imagine with your different fingers, and we have decided that for our game, the best way of shooting is taking your thumb down to your middle finger, and it has some issues. It is not the best way of shooting, probably, because your fingers are not designed to shoot. Your fingers are designed to do other things, but in the fantasy of shooting through your fingers, we believe it's the best way of shooting, right? But sometimes you will get people that haven't even played your game, or don't even like games, as a matter of fact, but they learn about your game somehow, and they will come to you and they will try to teach you how you should develop the game in terms of shooting. And that's something we don't really we don't actually give too much importance to that, because we don't think it's a relevant feedback. But that doesn't happen usually. Usually every piece of feedback we receive is welcome, even though it's harsh sometimes. We receive it and we try to analyze it and we try to digest it so that we can get better, because we know that even in the most harsh feedback, you can find something that it's valuable for the game.
Yeah, that's a good outlook. And some devs have that, some don't.
Yeah,
I would, if I was intelligent enough, I'd create a system where like all the feedback would filter through and it would automatically just bring out like the stuff that would be helpful to you. And then, because like like I said, that's a great outlook, but there are some devs where like that just wrecks their day, and I would probably be one of those devs, because it's like, God damn, like what the hell?
I mean, yeah, and I mean, we are all human, and you can't pretend that you have like a steel heart and nothing can get through you. That doesn't happen. I don't think that bird happens, but I think that you have to try to learn that some feedback you receive, some harsh feedback you may receive, I think that if you have a good day, you should try to read it and try to extract something from it. If you have a bad day, or if you think that it will diminish team's morale, you should definitely set it aside and get back to that later, because it can be harmful to the team. And it's the internet. Anything can say anything about anything. So
yeah, and they do.
Yeah, and they do, and they will not hesitate.
Yeah.
I would probably hire somebody to filter the mail and like categorize each one. This one's positive. This one has some constructive. This one's worthless. It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So going back to getting into VR, what was the first experience you had in VR? Was it a game or an app, or?
I mean, I think that I am really, really similar to almost anyone that has tried VR for the first time. It was Beat Saber, my first experience with VR. It was Beat Saber, and then I actually tried. I don't know if it was before trying Beat Saber for the first time. I tried one of those headsets where you could, sweep your phone in and move your head around. Yeah, I think that that might have been my first experience, actually. But I barely consider that to be VR. So, Beat Saber.
Okay, cool. And was that the moment you're like, oh, okay, I'm doing this, I'm in, or was it something else?
Yeah. That was, I mean, together with the first time I saw a VR video on YouTube, that is the first time I knew VR had to be in my life somehow. And then with the thesis, my final thesis, that's when we decided that it had to be part of our career, our professional career. And yeah, video games were the best excuse, I think.
So growing up when you're younger, what were some of your like what, right when I say that, what are the first games that popped to your mind that like you've loved over the years?
Like non-VR, you mean?
Yep. Just in childhood, like just your favorite games growing up.
Oh, probably. I mean, one of the games that I have played several hours. When I was a child, that must have been Pokemon Ruby for the Game Boy.
Nice.
I spent countless hours playing that game, and then I think I've played almost all of the Pokemon that came after that one, and I've played some before that as well. But I remember that game really vividly, and I mean there is this probably really unknown game. It was called Theme Park. It was a game about building a theme park in your computer, and I remember I played this game a lot as well when I was a child. It was a really cool game, but I haven't been able to play it since. Yeah, and then when I was a little bit older, I of course have played a lot of Minecraft as well. I mean, I think that Minecraft has defined a lot of how I think about games.
Nice.
But yeah, if we are thinking about or if we are talking about my favorite game of all times, that must have been BioShock 1 and Infinite. Yeah, they are both my favorite games. I can't decide between the two of those. But yeah, I mean that's I played those games when I was a teenager. I had a better ability of understanding what was trying to explain Ken Levine with the game, and I definitely think that they are amazing, awesome games.
Yeah, those are some good games. You have good taste.
Thank you. Thank you.
I remember like playing BioShock for the first time and going through it, and like when you get down in the science area, like how spooky it is. Yeah. And I replayed it after remaster. I'm like, I think it's more spookier to me now than it was when I was a kid. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, right. That's actually really, really interesting because when you sometimes the spookiness comes out of you understanding what could happen or what's the innocence of a child can't comprehend sometimes. Those kind of things.
I remember the Would You Kindly when that when that popped, it's like, yeah, that is so freaking amazing.
Yeah.
That's still one of my gaming moments where I was like, that is awesome.
Yeah, right. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Well, I know we're coming up on an hour. I know you said you had another thing going on, so you don't want to go over, but is there anything we didn't get to talk about that you wanted to share, or anything you wanted to touch on before we call it a episode? Or
I think that the best thing I can say to sum up what Fingergun is that I think it's a game that anyone can easily enjoy. If you try to understand that hand tracking technology is not like playing with controllers, and if you try to be a little bit if you give us a little bit of slack, actually, I think you can really have a really good time once you get the grasp of how to play with Fingergun. And that's the best thing I can actually say. So go try the game, and if you like it, give us a good review. If you don't, give us a bad review or get a refund. Tell us how you hate us in Twitter or in Reddit.
Constructive
but most
feedback
importantly,
is always appreciated.
reach out if you have any problems. I think for any problem you might have, we can have an answer, and we can help out. We really loved developing Fingergun, and we really love watching people play. So we are ready to help, and we are here to help you. So
that's awesome. That's another thing with VR devs. Like, you guys are always on top of it, and you're always in the community working through issues and stuff. Like we mentioned, even if meta updates something, it might cause you guys issues, and that's really scary too, because that might be the first time someone's trying it and all hell's breaking loose. And it's like, I always run into things. I'll put the game down, come back, give it another shot, or check to see if there's an update coming before, like, refund, or like, your game sucks, or anything like that. So it would be nice if everyone did those things, but I get it.
It'd be nice if everyone tried to like get rid of their preconceived, what things should be or what things are, because you enjoy something for what it is. Because I remember when that Watch Dogs game first came out in 2014, I'm like, this isn't like GTA, and my brain wouldn't like it. But like the third time I tried it, I'm like, this is actually its own thing. People like that. It's way more fun than any other game because of all the other stuff. So it's like, just stop and enjoy things for what they are, and then treat them fairly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, if you are an experienced FPS player, I think that you have the most work to do, because you have to, try to get away of all the conceptions you already have in your mind about what an FPS should be, because this is a really, really different experience, even though it's still a first-person shooter.
Yeah. But I enjoy the game. I think it's a lot of fun. A lot of potential there. You guys have done a lot of cool stuff. I'm glad to hear you're still looking at things.
Thank you so much, man.
If there's anything else we can do to help, if you need some ideas, we're always full of it. I mean, ideas.
Full of it.
I bet.
We're full of it.
But yeah, I can't wait to. I'm glad everything's going mostly well, and you guys are getting great feedback, and everyone's enjoying it. That's always awesome to hear. So,
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And if you ever want to come back, if you do a big update or anything else like that, we're always happy to chat about it. So
awesome. Yeah. I mean, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun, and I actually was telling later that before that this is the first time I've done this in VR, and it's a really, really cool experience. I think you guys have huge potential to take this environment into something really, really cool to do interviews, really. So congrats on that as well.
We're actively working on it, so any ideas you might have for that, feel free to send them on over.
I think the best I think the thing I would love most is to be able to grab things.
Yes.
That's in the new build. Though we'll be able to do that and interact.
Like for your game especially, like if we could just pop up our hands and got your models and just we had your finger guns, that would have been neat.
Yeah.
But that's the idea we're working on. So
little by little.
Yep. Well, thanks again for hanging out with us. I mean,
thank you so much, guys.
The VR devs are my heroes. You guys have balls. Like, you're brave. You're doing things that no one else is doing. I just love it, and I love to hear you guys are always like passionate. I love to hear the passion. I love to see you're always creative with everything. Obviously, like, that's just the neatest things to me. So that's why we try to have you on and chat about it. But
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And we really appreciate it.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everyone for watching and listening. This was the VR Verdict Podcast, episode 128 with Fingergun. Check them out. All the links to the games, and even if Discord, if you have one, we'll have that in the show notes on both the video and audio. So just click down below and check them out. Make sure to give feedback and reviews. It's very important.
Give it a shot.
Bye-bye.